Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the African Effect. This is your boy Derrick here with your girl
Natalie. What's up, everybody? I actually am the one that I really wanted to talk today. So I had a horrible day today. It was bad. And there are a lot of things, there are a lot of things I'm dealing with my son.
Yeah.
New changes and stuff, and his dad and I are divorced.
Mm-hmm.
So that transition has been pretty tough. And I got really emotional today, driving home from dropping him off at daycare. And I was like, it is so important to make sure that you choose the right partner, the right life partner.
Very.
Right?
Very important.
And I deduce that I actually think that it's one of the most important decisions that you can make. If you decide that you want to have a life partner, it's one of the most important decisions you can make. And when I was younger, I didn't give it enough credit. I would hear people say it. My pastor would say it. Whoever would say it, and I was just like, well, if you're not happy, you'll just leave, which is what I did. But there are still effects from it that you have to deal with.
Right.
So, and I think that there are a lot of people listening, Africans too, who are unhappy because they made the wrong choice in a life partner.
Yeah, definitely. And I know quite a few that I'm pretty close with that I know that they're unhappy, but they're just dealing with the situation because they feel like, this is just the choice that I've made, and I just got to stick through it and just got to deal with what comes with it. But it's definitely important to make sure that when you're dating, those red flags go unchecked. Mm-hmm. You have to pay attention to those things because things don't get better when you get married. They don't go away, magically disappear because somebody put a ring on your finger.
Right.
Because if you think about it, a lot of times when we get into any type of relationship, the minute you put a tag on it, right, you feel this sense of pressure. Like you have to live up to these standards. You have to live up to this idea of whatever this relationship is, right? So if it's just we're boyfriend and girlfriend, right? Now you feel a sense of pressure of I cannot fuck up.
Right.
Right. I don't want to get hurt. Now you feel constricted, right, to this individual whereas you used to move
and be more open.
Exactly.
So I guess it's like, why is choosing the right life partner important? Why is it? Because would you consider it to be you said you would consider it to be one of the most important decisions in your life.
It's very important.
So why is it the most important decision?
Because it can affect you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I know of a particular person that's very close to me who went through a very tough divorce. And through his marriage, he gained a hell of a lot of weight.
Stress.
And then started having like medical issues.
Wow.
So it's like choosing the right person is very important, man. And then on top of that, like if you choose someone who's not logical, who's not compassionate or like puts your best interest first and will always choose themselves, it makes it very hard.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Let's leave kids out of the picture.
Right.
Just you and this woman, you and this man. Like think of the mental strain it puts on you to know that I've married this individual who don't really care about me.
Mental and emotional strain.
From a man's perspective, or even from a woman's perspective, if we're having a conversation or disagreement, and I've told you like in-depth things about myself that bothered me when I was a child.
Right. Being vulnerable.
And you know these things. And then you turn around and use those things as a tool or as a weapon against me to benefit you in a future argument or a disagreement or whatever. You have lost that individual that
they'll never trust you again.
They'll never trust you again.
With their vulnerability.
That's why it's so hard for us men to trust women with those type of conversations. Because from our perspective, you come across a lot of ladies, not all of them, but there's plenty of women out there that use information that you give them against you. Mm-hmm. So and I'm only speaking from experience.
So that's one of the reasons why men find it hard to be vulnerable with women, because of that. Even their wives, if they decide they want to get married, they find it hard to be vulnerable because their wives will use it against them. Mm-hmm. So what you're experiencing, I guess, there is you're coming to terms with the fact that you're not unconditionally loved by this person.
You can't be. There's no possible way. No possible way. Because if you truly love me, the things that we discuss stays between me and you.
Right. And I firmly believe that when you love someone, when you're in love with someone, you have to choose to see the best in them. So even if you are, but I think that comes with being friends first, because, a lot of people meet, they date, they get married, and they don't really develop that friendship.
Yeah.
But when you develop a friendship with someone, you don't think about, this is my husband, this is my wife, I have to fix it. You're like, do I want to lose my friend? Mm-mm. Is this worth it?
Right.
Am I choosing to see the best in that person? And that's the mistake that I made. I didn't marry my friend.
Same here.
I didn't. And so that's why as soon as things went awry or went left,
there was no foundation.
There was no reason for me to say, let me stick this out and work it out, except for my son. But that only lasted for so long.
So I have to say this. I'm a Christian, right? I'm a faithful man. Like I believe in Christ and all of that. And I hear that all the time, you have to have God at the center of your relationship and all of that. Yes, but that can only take you so far. Mm-hmm. We're human. Mm-hmm. Right. And if I don't like you from a basic level, God is not going to save this relationship.
Like if you were not my wife, would I hang out with you?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. If we weren't married,
like you enough, bro?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a question that people have to ask themselves. That's why that's one of the things that's very important when choosing a partner is when things are not going well, or if we were not married, if you were not my husband and we were not bound legally and spiritually, would I still be able to hang out with you?
Dude, I remember my ex-wife asking me that during marriage, and she was like, if we were we were never married and we never dated or anything, like just in the regular real world, like would you hang out with me? I said no. And this is like after I found out that like I can't joke with this person, like I can't enjoy you like on a basic friendship level like I would want to,
right?
Because it's not a genuine vibe.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So,
and I think that's again like why it's important to choose the right partner, because when I hear people say that, and then I hear people also say peace of mind, like they want peace of mind. Obviously, there are hardships, there are trials that are going to come with marriage, with any situation, relationship you have. It's natural that things are going to happen.
Right.
But that obviously that peace of mind, I feel, comes from knowing and understanding that you can be yourself around this person. You don't have to fit into a role. Okay, I'm his wife. I can't, or we don't do this. We don't joke, right? We don't play. We don't do any of that. I'm his wife, or I'm her husband. This is my role. No, I'm Derrick, or I'm Natalie, and I'm married to this person. That's the way that I feel like it should be, because that's my peace. If I walk into my home and I can't 100% be my authentic self with my partner,
you with the
that's
wrong
lack
person,
of peace. Man. Yeah, that's lack of peace.
That's lack of peace, man. And most men don't want to be in a relationship or be involved with anyone who disturbs their peace. Like that's one of the number one things that we look for in a woman is peace. That's why you find that men typically cheat, because they don't have peace at home.
Right.
Like, I'm not condoning like you should cheat.
Right.
But those are causes for men to like cheat or step outside or look, because look, sometimes they won't even physically cheat. They just want to be around a woman who will allow him to be himself and just chill.
Right. Right. Makes sense. And I think a lot of the times too, I had a friend that was complaining at one point, newly married. Well, a year. Well, that's newly married, in my opinion. Newly married, and she was complaining that her husband, towards the end of that first year, wasn't really coming home much. It wasn't like he was out cheating.
He wasn't coming home.
He wasn't coming home much. He was staying out as late as possible without being too disrespectful. And she was complaining about it. And I was like, well, have you talked to him and have you asked him?
What were the excuses like he was giving?
He was saying, I had to go check on my sister, had to go check on my mom. And he actually really was at his family's house.
He was going to his family's house.
He actually really was there. But he was just saying, I had to go check on them. And I ended up just staying. You know how it is with my family. And I said, I'm not going to say her name, but I said, girl, have you ever thought that he doesn't want to be at home with you? Is there something going on at home that's causing him to not want to come home? What man, after working all day, doesn't want to come to his home and like lay in his bed or sit on his couch or whatever? And she was like, well, what could it possibly be? I don't know.
You don't give him peace. You don't give him peace. You don't give him peace. Like, think about it. Like, we have to deal with the BS from work.
Right.
The people that we deal with day to day, like all day long. And I know you as a woman, you work and you have to deal with shit too.
Yes.
We understand that. And we understand how important peace is, which is why a lot of men are okay if you don't work, because you want to know why? I would rather have a whole wife than half a wife. Right? That comes home stressed and pissed off, and she takes that shit out on me. So I have to deal with the BS from work.
And deal with her BS.
And then I have to deal with your BS from work. And then if we have kids, oh yeah. Like that's heavy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I think, and again, like if we're talking about why it's important to marry the right partner, we talked about like the emotional side, right? Like being vulnerable and being open with them, and the mental too, and how it affects you mentally, physically too. Because you talked about your friend that got sick, is stressed out and got sick, and was all of that.
Dude, I did not recognize him anymore when I saw him. I was shocked. See,
and it's the same thing too with women. A lot of women are emotional eaters. I sometimes when I have a bad day, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go home and kill those zebra cakes. Like, I need some zebra cakes right now, or something like that. But I remember in my situation, and I used to work out a lot before I had my son, and I remember my situation going through the changes that your body goes through when you have a baby, and being, even in the delivery room, stressed, like emotionally drained and stressed.
I remember
and
that. I remember that.
See, and I was just like, golly, like it wasn't a happy time, because the only thing that was on my mind was what I had to do and deal with when I got home. Like, okay, I can't embrace this beautiful moment of having. I mean, I absolutely am obsessed with my son. But it was just the stress that I was dealing with in my marriage at that time that robbed me of that. And so when people ask me now, do you want to have another baby? I automatically say no, because of that I don't want to say PTSD to disrespect anyone that really has it, but yeah, the trauma. I'm like, if I have to go through that again, because you automatically assume that that's what's going to happen, right? So the long-term effects of, choosing the right person is important because, you don't have to deal with those things. It's horrible. I can never get that moment back. Those moments back.
No, you can't. You cannot, man. And like, think about, not even just like, it's freaking depressing. It's depressing. Lonely. It's a lonely place to be. And especially if you don't have people in your corner that you trust enough to give that information to. Yeah. And that they won't throw that in your face.
I was fortunate enough to have a good support system. My brothers are amazing. My best friend, my mom. I was fortunate enough to have. I couldn't imagine what I would have done if I didn't have them. But that was when I finally decided to open up about it. Because, culturally, Africans, divorce is that's not even an option. So you just kind of suffer in silence.
Dude, the one person I felt comfortable enough, it was three people actually. 2 guys that I worked with abroad when I was in Afghanistan working. That was like the toughest time in my life. Because one, I was away from my children. I was away from the household, and anything that happened to my kids, I couldn't attend to it immediately. And it frustrated me. And then on top of it, I'm having to deal with an individual that, a wife at the time that I had no peace with. Right. So those 2 guys, like I love them to death, man. Like those, like, as much as we joke and we clown all day long, but like they listen to me. They allow me to vent. Right. And Rome, man, like I love you, bro. 'Cause you helped me through a lot, man. You don't even realize it, man. And my brother, Kevin, man, that dude is solid. That's one guy that I know I can always talk to.
Hey, Kevin.
And there's no judgment.
Right.
He's the only person that within my family that I felt like I could have that conversation with where I wouldn't feel judged and it wouldn't be thrown in my face. This isn't throwing shade at anybody else within my family, but you have those certain people. That one. You have that one person. That. And he was like that golden person for me.
And it's necessary.
Very necessary. It's necessary. Man. And because I think, like that time, man, while I was in Afghan, man, that was very depressing. Very depressing. Like man, dog.
And I think unfortunately, again, like, and we're speaking from the African perspective. I think that we've been conditioned to just kind of deal with stuff, right? Like if we're going through something and we're depressed. I think I remember
they see that as weakness.
Yeah, the first time like I said the word depressed, I think my dad was like, "What is that?
What is depression? What is wrong with you?"
And we're kind of conditioned to suck it up and deal with it. And then if we're being realistic, because I come from a divorced home. And we saw our parents stay together for the culture, even though they weren't happy. And so I found myself in my marriage before my divorce. I was like, well, I have a child. And we did this big traditional wedding. Everybody came. Everybody saw it. I can't get divorced now. Like, I have to stay here. I was at a point so low that I was willing to sacrifice my happiness for the rest of my life to stay in a marriage for my son and, for the way that it would look. And I remember, I can't remember what it was, but it was one night I came back from work. I came back really late and I was so tired, so exhausted. And I just wanted to be someone to talk to me, someone to, love on me a little bit. And I walked into the house and it was dead silent. And I was like, God, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
It's exhausting.
I couldn't.
It's lonely.
I was like, I couldn't. Yeah. And that was the day that I was like, no, I can't do it. And, it's lonely. It's really lonely. But it's important, like you said, to have people that are supportive, because when I finally decided to open up to my family and tell them what was going on, they were shocked, but they were also supportive because they wanted me to be okay. They wanted my son to be okay. So they were like, whatever it is that you want to do, we're going to support you. And it was such a relief. Such a relief. I didn't, at that moment, I didn't feel like I was going through it by myself anymore.
Like, man, when I hear that, man, like it puts me back in that, like that phase I was going through of having to deal with like the divorce by myself, like, and not feeling like I was useless. Like everything I had done, everything that I had like planned and wanted to do, like the vision I had for my household, I felt like it was all a waste. Like it was just useless, man. And then to know that I have two beautiful daughters that look up to me and the plans that I had for them, to have a complete home, and to be able to give them what it looks like to actually be married and be happily married, and to not have it. I was like, no, I cannot. I don't want to be in a household where I'm giving half effort.
Right.
I don't want them to have half a dad.
Right.
I want to be able to be 100% Derrick.
Right.
For my children. Like, and I had to choose them. I have to, because I know growing up, I saw my parents get into it. Right. I saw certain things where I was like, that's not what marriage looks like. Right. And this isn't to throw shade or anything.
No, I mean,
but people go, like my parents are divorced, right? Love them both to death. But there are things that I learned from both of them, both good and bad. And the things that were bad, they stick to you a lot. Those things stick to you a lot.
Yep.
Because you don't want to repeat the same mistakes or the same things that they did. And we shouldn't.
Right.
And us as African men, listen to me. Please listen to me. Understand that your parents, the resources that they had, aren't the same as what we have now or what we had growing up. They're not. They weren't taught the same things we were taught. They weren't afforded those things. So now that you have all of this experience and this knowledge of what not to do, you have to be the difference maker. You have to, as a man, you have to be the difference maker. You have to consciously choose to do better, not just for you, but that woman that you're married to, or the woman that you want to marry, or you just want to be in a relationship with, or if you have kids with this individual, put them first.
And if it's not something, if you realize, because, sometimes we get into, that's a good point. And sometimes we get into situations where it just is not working out, right? Like you've tried everything that you can try.
Yes.
You've tried everything that
Be
you can
civil.
do. I mean, it's now I'm Christian too. And nobody, I can say this from my own experience, at least for me, gets married to get divorced.
No.
Because divorce is the absolute worst thing that you can go through, especially if you have children.
It's like death.
It really is. And it's incredibly hard to start over. Not necessarily from a financial perspective or anything, but just emotionally. Yep. To just imagine, dumping everything that you have into something emotionally, spiritually, physically, and then having to leave it there and start all over.
It's draining.
It's draining. And so, if it's not working, then, it's okay to leave. But I think before it even gets there, you really have to take some time to learn yourself and know yourself.
Yes.
You got to know yourself too.
Yes.
And then, that will help you know exactly what it is that you're looking for. And now that I'm divorced, I appreciate anybody that wants to take their time. Because as Africans, it's like, we want to get married, we want to get married, we want to get married.
Boom, boom, boom. Like,
I appreciate anybody that wants to take their time. And now I tell people I'm just looking for a friend. If it develops into more, that's fine, but no pressure, because I know what it's like to not take your time.
Yep.
And it was the worst mistake that I could have made.
Same here. I recall my mom telling me like she sat me down, and this is like after I had found out that she was pregnant, and
this is your ex-wife?
My ex-wife. Okay. And so for me, it was like a no-brainer. When I found out she was pregnant, I was like, yeah, I'm choosing my child. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of my seed.
I'm gonna get married.
I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm gonna get married. Because at the time, yeah, I loved her. We were in love. Like, we were in a good place and all of those things, right? Why not?
Right.
Why not try to do this thing together? And then I remember her sitting me down, having a conversation, and she said, look, son, like, I know you love this woman, but take your time. At least another year or so, right? And see where things go, because the person that you're with right now, you're dating right now, it's possible you're still going through the honeymoon phase.
That's right.
Let that die down. Then you'll start to see that person's true character. Then your true character is going to come out as well, right? Because right now, like, both of y'all are putting your best foot forward. Why? Because you like each other.
I mean, it's just like getting a job. The first 90 days, you're going to show up to work on
probation.
Time. After that, on that 91st day,
after that 91st day, it's like, bro, I'm coming in late.
Stop for some Starbucks before I go to work. So it's like, everyone during that phase is going to put their best foot forward. And that's what it comes to unconditional love. Some people are afforded the blessing of meeting somebody. And off the rip, they're like, this is my person.
Yep.
I love them unconditionally. I'm going to be here for them unconditionally. And they stay true to that. I'm a firm believer, though, that you really have to take your time, see people in different conditions and in different situations, because adversity reveals character.
Yes,
and my brother says that all the time. My older brother, that's like his favorite quote. Adversity reveals character. And there were never any truer words spoken.
That is so very important.
Yes. So it's like, if you
true.
are with someone long enough, inevitably you're going to go through some things together, and you'll be able to see this person. And you can say, you know what? I realize that I love them, but I only love them when it's sunny outside.
When it's sunny outside. Yeah.
Because when it's dark outside, I don't like who he becomes, and I can't deal with that. It's time to leave. Don't even think about marriage. Don't even think about that. Because if there's something that you just absolutely can't deal with, you have to leave. And the only way for you to get to that point is to take your time, study that person, learn yourself while you're with them. And you can avoid, this whole thing about choosing the wrong person and getting divorced and going through that and having kids and putting your children through those changes. And, you really have to take your time.
You have to.
And my dad, I miss my dad every day. But when I kind of fell into the same situation with you. I got pregnant. Then, his dad, or he came from a Anglican background, and I'm Catholic. So, you get pregnant, you're getting married. So it was just kind of like,
as a Catholic.
I mean, just as a Christian. I mean, in Africans, period, right? So you get pregnant, you're getting married. So I knew that was the next thing, and I remember planning the traditional wedding, planning the white wedding, and I called my dad. And I was like, do I have to do this? And he got real quiet. I remember where I was. I was in the bathroom in Austin at my mom's house. That was the only place that you could go to where my mom wouldn't walk in without knocking. So I remember, and I was like, do I have to do this? And he said, no, you don't. I was so shocked to hear that. And I was like, really? He said, yeah. He was like, you don't have to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Now, just understand what's going to come with that.
When
people are going to judge you. People are going to say what they want to say, but you don't have to. You can take your time. He said, we don't even have to do the wedding right now. He said that. And I said, well, everybody's saying we have to get married. He was like, we don't even have to do the wedding. We can hold off on it. And he's the man, the head of the family. So anything that he says goes as it relates to traditional marriage or anything. So he said, just tell me and I'll talk to your mom. But I fell to the pressure. And I was like, okay. And then a couple days later, I was like, no, let's just do it. But had I listened to my dad, probably would have avoided a lot of the things that I dealt with after.
Had I listened to my mom. But then I think about, I wouldn't have my youngest, man. And that little joker right there, oh my gosh.
That girl.
She is my twin.
Literally, she looks just like
that girl is my twin. Like,
I wish y'all could see it. She looks exactly like, when I say exactly, it's insane.
Yo, she is the female version of me. And no matter how tough I try to be, she breaks through that barrier, man. God, man.
But that goes to show, like, God has a plan sometimes too, right?
Yes.
So yeah. I think he would have gotten her one way or the other. Like, I think he would have gotten her. However, God had a plan for that. But I think also sometimes God gives us free will to kind of make our own decisions too,
yep.
right? And I think I am just now starting to come to terms with the accountability that I have to take.
There you go.
For making the decision that I made. Go. And that accountability is wholly related to my son, because he is the one that has to deal with his parents, you know, being divorced. And, you know, it's not like we're fighting or arguing or anything, but there are just still some unresolved things that I think we're both holding on to. And I have to take accountability for making that decision.
As far as between you and your ex-husband. Okay.
Yeah. And you know how it is. You have those moments where you're driving or something and you hear something or you see something and you're like, God damn, I can't believe this. Can't believe this nigga did this.
Yeah, man.
Gosh.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, I guess the next thing that I think I would want to know, and these are things that I wish that I knew before, but when you realize, or what happens after you realize that you've chosen the wrong one, right? And you have to make those hard decisions. How do you move forward? Like, because there's a lot of fear with that, right? When you've chosen the wrong one, you realize you've chosen the wrong one. I can only speak from a woman's perspective, but as an African woman, it's like, oh my gosh. You know, you're at a crossroads now. Yep. What do I do? How do you navigate through that?
It's not easy. It's very lonely. It's depressing. It's frustrating. You go through all of these emotions. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're sad, and you start to point fingers at yourself and start blaming yourself. And I felt useless. I didn't feel like myself, dude. Like it was like look what you've done, Derrick. You've put your kids in this position, which you vowed that you would never do. And now you're doing it. Now you're in it. So what do you do now? And I'm not one who, I didn't get married to get divorced. You just don't. And I remember before I was getting ready to go overseas to go work, my godmother, I consider as my godmother, I remember her pulling me outside and she was like, son, listen, before you decide to go overseas to go work, make sure your house is in order. Because if you don't, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad when you come back. It's very important that you make sure your house is in order. And I lied to myself saying, yeah, everything is good. Why? Because I had the mindset that, okay, this is something that's going to benefit the household. Because I was looking at a bigger picture, right? The opportunities that it will come with it. And once I got home and, you know, certain debts were paid off and we had a certain amount in like our bank account and like set us up for like certain things like long term. So that was my mindset. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, also maybe a little bit of distance will help our relationship. We'll start to miss each other a little bit more, right? Nah, joker. Nope. No. You know what happened? Shit got worse.
Distance only makes the heart grow fonder when you love someone.
Bro, when I say adversity hit, and it hit tough. Now, from my I'm working overseas now, in Afghan,
fighting for your life every day,
dude. My first night in the bunker, whatever. Like we got
Taliban
hit.
Came for you?
We had incoming. My roommate was like laying in the bed, and he's like on his game, like, and all you hear is like incoming. I'm like, what the? So I'm scared, yo. I am scared. I'm scared beyond measure. I jump off the bed, lay on the ground, because look, they give you this pamphlet that they talk about things you should do whenever you hear incoming.
You were reading the pamphlet on the floor. Page 3 says,
"Get your ass on the floor." So listen,
an African in Afghanistan, y'all. That's what that looks like. You're not scared of nothing over here, but as soon as you
look. I'm not gonna lie to you, like that. My perspective on life and my appreciation for the things that we have here stateside, I appreciate it so much more. Yeah. I've experienced life in India, like the poverty there. Like, man, America talks about dude. You ain't seen shit.
Not even African poverty, please.
Exactly.
That's a poverty that I don't even want to think about.
Dude. But anyway, so.
You said it made it worse when you went over
there. It made it worse. And so then.
What made it, not to interrupt you, but what did you realize being, being in Afghanistan was a blessing in disguise, right? Because, I mean, the bad thing is you were away from your children, but the good thing is it was able to open your eyes to how incompatible you guys were. But what was it that made it, what was it? What was happening?
I kept getting conversations about the kids. Something was always happening. And so then I realized, like, I didn't realize how much I took on that motherly role, motherly instinct, while I was at home until I left. And so for me, it was like, what the F, bro? Like, this shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't be a problem. Like,
I shouldn't be getting calls about this while I'm fighting for my life.
Exactly. And I'm worried about dying. Is today going to be the day that I die? Like, that's what I was dealing with. And then when it got to like a real patchy phase, like within while I was out there, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th month while I was like in Afghan. Mind you, I'm sleeping in like a Connex, like the
4x10.
No, like the shipment containers.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, 2 to a container. You get half, and your roommate gets the other half. It sucked. And then the shower. Oh my gosh! Don't let it be cold outside during the winter, and you have to walk around the block to go shower.
Nigga, get back on track, boys.
But listen, so yeah, so like having to deal with like unnecessary phone calls and the things, and I understand, like to her credit, like it's not easy going from where you have the support and the help of your husband and he's home and like he's balancing things like it, and then now it's just you having to deal with 2 kids. I salute her for doing her best.
Right.
But as it pertains to her and I, it was just like, God dang, man.
But you said that there came a point where it was patchy, like the last 3 to 4 months. Like, what was it? Just
so it was after my first 3 or 4 months, and I remember having a conversation with myself, trying to figure out why was it that I was so unhappy? Why was I so frustrated? Why did I feel so incomplete? And it was because I realized I wasn't happy with my home. I didn't have peace at home. I didn't. And then on top of that, having to deal with what I was having to deal with while I was overseas.
Right.
Like I avoided having certain conversations about what would happen because I knew like it wouldn't make the situation any better.
Wow.
It was that more mentally draining. and emotionally draining. So like I shielded a lot of those things from her because I didn't feel like she could deal with it. And she displayed that she couldn't.
So what happened when you came home?
It was awkward. I felt like I had walked into a house where
You were a stranger?
We were strangers. Like you're my roommate. Yeah, and that feeling sucked. And I know it sucked for her. Cause I even told her, I was like, look, I know you feel this way. I know you sense this. And I don't like that you're having to go through this.
Yeah.
Nor do I like having to go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, so what do we do? So during that time, like I'm telling you, like for like a good 2 to 3 months, it seemed like every other day I was crying in the shower by myself.
Wow.
Like during the day, I was fine because I was interacting with people. I was interacting with my boys. Like I was fine. But as soon as I got to my room and I realized the day was over and I had to be by myself.
Yep. That'll do it.
In the shower, I'm crying, asking God, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? All I wanted to do was be a family man. All I wanted to do was take care of my kids. All I wanted to do was be a husband. Why am I having to deal with this frustration? Why am I having to deal with this depression? Why am I having to deal with this loneliness? I don't like it here, God. Like, take me out.
Yep. Those are real thoughts.
And so there would be times where I'd be like, I wish the fucking missile would hit like my fucking building.
The power of the mind is real. Because you will get to those moments when you're lonely. But so I can totally understand the roommate thing. I think I know a lot of my friends who are married who can also, if they're being honest with themselves, understand the roommate thing. I literally had a roommate. When we moved into our home, I remember him telling the movers, okay, put my stuff in my room.
God dang, man.
Yeah, we never slept in the same room.
That's gotta be, oh my gosh. Yeah, that makes me sick to my stomach.
Never, like not once. So Jacob, my son, slept in the same room with me. And that was my thing. And that was just that was the norm. And I remember whenever my mom, oh, she's so awesome. She would come over to visit and she was like, is he sleeping in another room? And I would have to lie. I was like, no, his stuff is just in there because we just have a lot of extra stuff. It's very lonely. It does make you question. Sometimes it makes you question if you're good enough, if you're worthy enough.
Yes.
Like, what is it about me that this person doesn't like me, right? That they don't. I can't be vulnerable with them, like you said, right? I can't be myself around them. Like, why? Like, what is it? What's wrong with me? And then what happens is, at least for me as a woman, is when that goes, like when you feel like the person that you're with or the person that's around you doesn't like you, and you kind of feel like you can't go anywhere. Because like I said, I was in the marriage, I was like, I can't leave this marriage. You can't leave. You let yourself go. Yep. Because what's the point? I stopped working out. I stopped eating right. I stopped taking care of myself. And when that happens, at least with me, when I get to that point, I don't focus on work. I just kind of go through the motions. The only thing that kept me afloat was my son.
Dude, I remember my pastor told my son, what happened to you? You didn't got fat.
People would look at you. Yeah, people looked at me and they were like, what's going on, girl?
Listen, I'm thinking to myself, like, what you talking about? Like, I'm living good. But I didn't realize I was depressed.
Didn't realize it. People are like, oh, okay, girl. Then I'm like, yeah, I just had a baby. I'll just say that, but no. My son was the only thing. My son, he was the only thing.
I know.
It was like, I would rush to come home to him because that
was your peace.
That was my peace. And
that was your peace.
I learned unconditional love through my son, just like I'm sure you know with your kids, because no matter what you go through, no matter if my weight was fluctuating, if I wasn't happy a certain day, if I was crying another day, my son loved me and showed
unconditionally.
Yeah. And so it's like, this is the one thing that I got right. That was all I had.
So to answer your question, what do you do? you have to have an honest conversation with yourself first. Mm-hmm. If you're a religious person, pray about it. Have an honest conversation with yourself. Be accountable for the things that you've done, the choices that you've made, right? Mm-hmm. Then involve your partner. Both of y'all should have that honest conversation. And if you're dealing with someone who's reasonable and understanding, right, you figure out things that you can do to resolve what's happening.
Right.
Right. Let's put the emotions aside and let's dig deep to the core as to why we're in the position that we are. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, if you've put forth the effort, you've had these conversations, and one person is just apologizing just to apologize because they're in the hot seat at the time, or they're just saying what they got to say just to, you know what I'm saying, just to
get out of the situation.
Just get out the situation. Mm-hmm. They're not serious, man. It's not genuine. People love anyone who's genuine.
Because it's rare.
It's rare, man. Mm-hmm. It's rare. And I never felt like it was just a genuine thing. Did she love me? I know for a fact she did. I know she did. But it was just the way things was just handled. Mm-hmm. And for me, it triggered things for me.
Right.
That I saw growing up. That I said, no, this ain't it, bro. And then I had to ask myself, okay, so Derrick, what are you going to do now? Because you have 2 kids with this woman. Are you going to sacrifice your mental peace and continuously consider suicide? Because that wasn't the only trauma thing. That wasn't the only traumatic thing that I had gone through was a marriage. I went through things like with my mom leading to that.
Right.
And I had just resolved that.
It kind of feels like you can't catch a break.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So then I asked myself, I was like, look, what's more important now? I got to save myself first. Because if I can't save me, there's nothing I can do for these girls.
Right.
If I'm gone. So I made the tough decision. I had to break it up. Mm-hmm. Because I would rather be a whole father to those girls and show them that you shouldn't have to deal with something like this in your life. You don't have to.
You don't have to. Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't see your dad yelling at your mom. You shouldn't see your mom yelling at your dad. Right. You shouldn't see your mom hitting your dad. Like, it's none of that.
That's not normal.
That's not healthy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want them to think that it was okay.
Right.
Because it's not okay with me.
No, it's not.
And I don't want my children to date any man who's okay with my daughter hitting on him or him hitting on my. No, that's not. No. Fuck no.
Yeah. And because you didn't grow up and because they didn't, and they're not going to see that, they're going to know that if they do experience it, it's wrong. And let me come and talk to my dad or whoever about that. And I think it's really important to acknowledge, like we said at the beginning, how big of a deal it is choosing the right partner. And, I'm speaking to, I know a lot of people that are going through the motions, right? Because what we see on Instagram, what we see on Facebook,
it's fake.
It's fake. I mean, for some people, it's real.
Some people
but
it's
for
real.
The majority of people, because I know a lot of the people that I see personally, and it's like, you can be having a conversation with one of your friends on the phone. They're crying their eyes out about how unhappy they are, and then the next day they're posting a family picture. They're talking about how they want to leave their husband so bad. Mm-hmm. They can't stand it. They're unhappy. They were unhappy even on the day of their wedding.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the next day they're posting a picture. And I remember being there. I remember being in that space mentally. And I remember how I wasn't posting pictures because I'm pretty private, but I remember telling myself like, oh, it's fine. Let's just, I'm going to cook some food. We're going to have dinner as a family. Everything's going to be good. That patchwork, it's only temporary.
Keep sweeping it under the rug. One day you're going to trip over that rug.
You're going to trip over it. It's going to make you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make you crazy because there's only so much that you can teach someone that you are in a partnership with. There's only so much that you can teach them. At some point,
yo, say that again.
There's only so much.
Say that again, because that right there is heavy.
It's the truth, because they can go on this journey with you, and you guys are both learning from one another. You're teaching them, they're teaching you. Everybody has a cap.
Yep.
Everybody. Some people's caps are sooner than others. Mm-hmm. Some are not. There's only so much that you can teach somebody, especially somebody that has resolved within themselves that this is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to do it. This is how they're going to behave. There is nothing you can tell them.
Not a motherfreaking thing.
That will get them to align with the vision and the goal for.
Because that's their character. That's just who they are.
And even if they tell you with their mouth.
No, that means nothing.
I want to do this. Their action, they can't help.
Their actions, exactly.
And that's why you have to take your time before you get into situations like that. Because I don't listen to what people say anymore. I will hear you and I'll keep it stored in my mind to use it as like as a reference point.
Point of reference.
I'm going to pay attention to what you do,
right? How
you behave, how you handle situations. If you're open to advice, if you're open to listening, if you get offended when you're criticized, how you handle children, how you handle family issues, how you handle your childhood traumas, if you have any. All of those things are the things that I'm going to pay attention to. Because had I paid attention to those things before, everything that happened in my marriage wouldn't have been a surprise to me. It was a shock. I was like, what? What's going on? And people who know me were like, girl.
Why?
You're
better than that.
Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I wasn't ready to take accountability for it. I found myself constantly making excuses for certain behaviors that were exhibited. I found myself constantly trying to justify certain things. And then after a while, I was like, girl, this is him. And it's no shade. I mean, everybody has flaws. Like, we all have flaws. I have mine too.
Yeah.
But this is who he is. And Natalie, are you willing to accept this for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I said, hell no.
We know that.
I said, hell no, man. Like, look, no.
Derrick said, send me back to Afghanistan where I got to deal with that.
Look, to be abroad in a different country where there's like fighting going on and you have more peace there.
Ooh.
You don't think that's a problem?
That's a big problem.
God.
That's a big problem.
And look, man, choosing the right person is very, very important.
It's very important.
Take your time. Definitely take your time. Even if you're already in something, take this moment, reevaluate where you are. Mm-hmm. Be accountable. Be honest, man. Be honest. Be honest.
And also to people, I think to people in the African community, reevaluate your previous relationships. Sometimes, and I know I've been a victim of this, some relationships I had failed because of the title, the expectation, like you mentioned before, right? That you put on it. You put a title on something. I think that the institution of marriage is a blessing, but not everybody is made for it.
Not everyone's made for marriage.
And so it's okay if you're not.
Right.
So I think that that's something that we have to teach. It's something I'm going to teach my child.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, I would want you to get married. Of course, I would want you to experience that with the right person.
But I'm not going to pressure
thing.
you to get married.
But if you're not, if you just know that, hey, this is just not my thing, I can't do it. Don't fall into the pressure. I'm not going to pressure you. Don't fall into the pressure. And I think it's time for people to stand up for themselves and to tell their parents, if you're African or whoever, not to fall to the pressure and say, you know what, this is just not it for me. I'm not going to do it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to disappoint you.
Right.
But this is not it for me. Because the people that were telling me to get married because I had a baby and I was having a baby, when I was going through what I was going through, nowhere to be found.
Of course not. Of course not.
Nowhere. They didn't care.
No.
So live your life for you. and for your family. If you want one, you have one in your children.
Be intentional.
Be intentional. And we're going to post the link to suicide prevention, because we know that that's something that we mentioned on the podcast today. And it's a really important topic. And I think it impacts everyone. And this is the African effect. So it also impacts the African community. So we're going to post a link to that down below. But we really, really appreciate everybody for listening today. Please comment, share your thoughts. If you don't want to share them in the comment section, you can send us some messages, because we've gotten a couple. Text messages or messages or DMs or whatever. We want to hear from y'all.
And look, for whatever it is you're going through, we're sorry. Like, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. Like, don't make your decisions based off of what other people are gonna think. Right. Fuck that, man. Look, take care of you. Your mental matters.
It matters.
It really matters.
And if you feel like it doesn't matter to anyone else, it definitely matters to us, because we both have been there. So if you need anybody to talk to, call Derrick.
Nah, don't call my phone, man. Don't call my phone. Do not call my phone, because I would screen your call and be like, that must be spam.
Oh gosh. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, till next time. Peace.
Bye, guys.